I'm going to be comparing the Jumanji franchise to the How to Train Your Dragon franchise. Because in part one of this series, when I compared How to Train Your Dragon to Shining, How to Train Your Dragon 1, when I compared the Jumanji franchise to the Addams Family franchise, Jumanji 1. So now I'm going to pit the winners of those two debates against each other. When you look at high score for each franchise, ooh, man. All three of the How to Train Your Dragon movies have great scores on Rotten Tomatoes. The original film is a 99%, whereas, ooh, man, the highest score for Jumanji is only a 77% for the spin off movie Zathura, A Space Adventure. When you look at lowest score, How to Train Your Dragon The Hidden World has the lowest score, and it's still a 90%, which is fantastic. Whereas the original Jumanji from 1995 with Robin Williams has a 52%, which I'll never understand. That has never made any sense to me at all. When you look at average score for each franchise, How to Train Your Dragon has an average of 93, Jumanji only has an average of 69. When you look at gap between lowest and highest score, you got, well, a gap of only 9% in the case of How to Train Your Dragon, whereas if Jumanji, it's 25%. So, How to Train Your Dragon has won every round so far, so it's going to be winning this debate. But I definitely would personally not agree with that. I prefer the Jumanji franchise. Now, I would love, honestly, to talk with a critic. Why is it that Jumanji is a bad movie? I have no clue why. When you look at Rotten Tomatoes, it says, quote unquote, the movie has a malnourished plot. I'm going, what are you talking about? How exactly is the plot for Jumanji bad, underdeveloped? In what way? It all makes sense to me. You start off with Robin Williams' character as a kid, and then he ends up playing this magic game, Jumanji, thus leading to him being trapped in the game. And then you have other people that end up playing Jumanji as a result of that. Robin Williams' character comes back only to find that the world has changed because he's been gone for so long. He's been trapped in the game Jumanji for so long, and thus, when he goes back to the factory that his dad worked in, he finds out, oh, my dad doesn't work there anymore because how much time has passed. The factory isn't even being used anymore. And he sees the world around me is so different compared to the one I remember. But then by the end of the movie, everything's reset, and thus Robin Williams' character goes back to the life that he knew. And also, you have these people that are playing the game Jumanji. They're trying to survive, trying to finish the game so that things can go back to normal. What exactly is the problem here? I don't get it. Like, all that works to me, so I don't know what the heck is the problem here. I think the pacing of the movie is good. If I try to think, are there any plot holes in this movie? Is there anything that doesn't make sense or feels contrived or convenient? Are there examples of characters making blatantly stupid decisions? I don't think there is. I think the visuals for this movie hold up pretty well. I think the acting is good across the board. So I think that movie easily should be fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. It should not be rotten. I mean, I'm glad all the other movies are fresh. When I look at How to Train Your Dragon, I think that, especially with that first film, John Powell did a fantastic job with the score. I mean, Test Drive, Coming Back Around, Romantic Flight, Forbidden Friendship, This Is Burke, all great pieces of music. In all these movies, when you see Hiccup and Toothless flying, it's just amazing. The technical aspects of these scenes are top notch. The music is fantastic. You really feel excited when you see Hiccup and Toothless fly because you can tell they're excited about it. It's just exhilarating. Voice acting here is really good. I'm a big fan of the first two movies. Sure, when I look at How to Train Your Dragon 2, Drago's not really that interesting of a character. It's like, oh, yeah, that's right. Drago's the villain that we need to defeat. he's not the most interesting aspect of the movie. No, you're way more interested in Hiccup meeting his mother Valka for the first time, meeting these new dragons, learning about the Bewildebeest, seeing how Hiccup has improved his technology. Not that suddenly this is advanced technology, it's not futuristic, but when you look at the second movie, you see that, oh, Hiccup has better gear than he did in the first movie, and he has this cool fire sword now. Also, I think the story here is quite engaging. It is in the first film as well. Also, of the first film, I like the conflict between Stoic and Hiccup. It doesn't feel forced. You get where both of them are coming from. You get that Stoic wants Hiccup to beat dragons because that's what everyone else does. But you also understand that Hiccup is frustrated because he doesn't feel like his dad is really listening to him or really cares about what he thinks. But then by the end of the first film, Stoic has definitely improved. He's grown to understand Hiccup better. But then you see that in the second film, Stoic hasn't fully gotten better. There's still ways in which he's not really listening to Hiccup. We see that he wants Hiccup to be chief, but he's not thinking, wait a minute, is this what Hiccup actually wants? And like when Hiccup tries to warn Stoic about a dragon army coming, it takes quite a good amount of time for Hiccup to get the message through to Stoic, because Stoic's not really listening. I like that by the end of the second film, Hiccup is the new chief, Toothless has become the new alpha. That moment where Toothless breaks free from the ice in order to save Hiccup is really powerful. Also, it's very sad when you lose Stoic at the end of the second film, and you see all our characters mourning Stoic. Even the comic relief characters take this seriously. But as I talked about in my last video, I think The Hidden World was a big disappointment. I think it's easily the weakest How to Train Your Dragon film. I think the score on Rotten Tomatoes should be actually lower for several reasons. First of all, it feels to me like Toothless got dumbed down in this movie. Like, suddenly we're acting as if Toothless is Hiccup's pet, but the first two movies didn't try to present Toothless as Hiccup's pet. And also, suddenly, now the third movie is trying to make us think that the Burkians are mistreating the dragons, they're holding them in captivity. But the first and second film were not trying to say that at all. I mean, think about it. At the end of the first film, we see the dragons choose to be on Burke. And then the second film, you see how the Burkians have made their island a place that is accommodating to dragons as well. Now, I don't inherently dislike the message of learning to let go. If you love someone, let them go. If you love someone, want them to be happy. Yeah, that in and of itself is a good message, but is it handled well in How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World? No, I don't think it is. Because the idea that Hiccup would not see Toothless for 10 years and that Toothless would actually forget about Hiccup is something I do not like at all. Plus, I think it's really unsatisfying and anticlimactic when suddenly you learn, oh, Toothless actually is the last Night Fury. All the other ones were just killed off screen by this villain Grimmel. And also, I don't like that How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World shows us that the Burkians unilaterally decide on their own that, oh, there's no chance of peace between dragons and humans. We just need to give up and let the dragons go. They're going to head off to the Hidden World. So we're going to just not fight at all for a better future anymore. What? How are all of Burke's allies going to feel when they learn that Burke made this decision? I mean, in the TV shows, we learn about these other islands, these other people that really like dragons. How are they going to feel about this. Also, earlier on in the Hidden World, one of the bad guys actually says the Burkian's message about peace between dragons and humans is spreading. So even when you look at this specific movie, the idea that the Burkians would just give up, that they'd say, oh, there's no hope at all for peaceful coexistence makes no sense, especially when you actually look at the first two movies and other content in this franchise. It's just ridiculous. Also, the fact that Toothless, who is the alpha, actually chooses to prioritize saving the Light Fury over protecting his flock, frankly makes Toothless look bad. It makes him come off as pretty selfish. When talking about yours in the third act, you have this moment where the Light Fury has been captured by our villain Grimmel. Grimmel is telling Toothless, call your dragons off or else I'll harm her. And we see that Toothless actually orders the other dragons to stand down. Well, that doesn't present Toothless in a good light at all. And also, Astrid comes off as pretty unlikable in the Hidden World to me. It's like suddenly she's jealous of Toothless. Suddenly she's insecure, thinking, well, I want Hiccup to myself. I gotta get Toothless out of the way because he's a competitor. I don't like that at all. To me, the Hidden World ended in a way that was not even bittersweet. It's just depressing because, oh, the Burkians have given up. So everything was for nothing. All the progress that we saw earlier on didn't end up going anywhere. Plus, when you learn that, oh, Toothless actually is the last Night Fury, and the Light Fury is something somewhat separate, means, oh, the Night Furies are just doomed to extinction. Well, that's depressing. Also, the Hidden World wants you to think that the dragons are being set free and this is a good thing, only for the movie to immediately show us, oh, the dragons are just going into a big shiny cage called the Hidden World. That's a contradiction. So, man, I really don't like the Hidden World. I don't get why a lot of other people seem to just miss all these big problems. Though, wrap things up for this video. How to Train Your Dragon, unfortunately, is winning this debate, even though I personally prefer Jumangi.